Thank you, Thomas. I really appreciate the introduction. And I don't know about lighting up a room, but I will say this, that I'm very thankful for each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day. And young Bailey's a classic example of you guys who have felt the need and I guess paid us the respect, the speakers, to come out here and talk. It's not much fun talking in front of an empty audience, but to have you guys here and take the time out of your day, your busy schedule, really appreciate it. And I hope, and probably a little bit about what Thomas touched on, was I may touch some of you, I may not. And if I do, great. If I don't, then I apologise. Or maybe I don't apologise. Maybe it's just one of those things that my story doesn't necessarily resonate with you, and that's okay. Maybe you've got something out of plenty of the other speakers, and maybe not. But if you could take one or two things out of today, and maybe you may take more. And if that's the case, then that's fantastic. But just try and take on board certain aspects that may relate to you. And I hope that you do get something out of today, and I'm sure you already have. Thomas did touch on success, and I'm going to take a seat, and as we go along, I'll wander around and do my bit. But he touched on success, and I think for me, there's three things that lead to success. First one is talent. I think you need to have ability. Now, I did a psychometric assessment after I finished playing rugby league, and in that assessment, it asked questions about, you know, what would be your favourite job, what would you love to be, and it made reference to being a rock star. So I thought that would be bloody amazing. But as the assessment went along and my results came in, it said it appears that you have this love for music, which is probably my fourth love. But you have this love for music, but you've actually got to have some ability when it comes to music. And unless you've seen me on the freeway tapping away on my steering wheel, apart from that, I've got no musical talent whatsoever. I'd like to think I can sing. No, I can't. But the fact of the matter is, you've got to have some talent. And, you know, my rugby league career, I was fortunate enough to have a God-given talent that gave me the chance to do what I did. And whatever career path you go down, obviously talent has to be there, okay, for you to be successful. Like a real estate agent, administration, business owner, whatever it may be, you've got to have some sort of talent. The other thing that I look at is hard work, sacrifice, commitment, all those things that you roll up. And I think about my football career and some of the sacrifices and hard work, commitment, that effort that you put in to get to that level, okay? Nothing comes for nothing in life. You've got to actually earn the right to get to a point in your life where you deserve that success. And it may not necessarily come, as Thomas touched on earlier, but ultimately, I think if you put that hard work and sacrifice, you may get to where you need to. And the third thing, and I never really understood this until after my career, and it was luck and opportunity, okay? And I think they go hand in hand. But if you don't have talent, and if you haven't put in the hard work, made those sacrifices, that luck or opportunity doesn't come your way, because it just goes by the wayside, or it goes to somebody else that has put in that effort, that has put in the hard work, that has taken those sacrifices that's required to get to where they needed to. And when it comes to my playing career, and I haven't even started on my thing yet, so I apologise for that. I was a little bit distracted. But when it comes to my playing career, I was 18. I'd just come back from the Australian Schoolboys tour, and basically I'd expected to be playing under 21s for Parramatta. As it turned out, my first first trial match, got a phone call from the reserve grade coach who said, "Mate, we need you to play reserve grade. One of the boys are injured." I remember rocking up. I was out in Western Suburbs. We played Campbelltown, and I was absolutely shitting myself. There were guys with grown beards. They were all feral, and I'll tell you, they were snorting from the nose and shit like that. And I'm just an 18-year-old who's just standing out in the centres, looking at myself going, what the hell are these? They're bashing the shit out of each other. I got to tell you, it was horrendous. As it turned out, I scored 3 tries that day, which was just through fear alone, I can assure you. I was just running away so they wouldn't tackle me. I promise you. I think I only touched the ball 3 times and I scored every time. But I was just shitting myself that much that I just had to keep running and running. So that was my, I just got back from the Australian Schoolboys tour. Played my first trial match in reserve grade. I just really wanted to play under 21s that year. I started the season in reserve grade. And again, I'd worked extremely hard during the off season. Didn't really understand what I needed to do or how I would have got about that. But I worked extremely hard, and suddenly opportunities come my way. And you may have heard a guy, he wasn't about halfback in his day, and he did all right at Parramatta. His name was Peter Sterling. And he, Ray, you might know him. He goes all right, doesn't he? He won't. Can't tackle. Joined the club. I was never good at tackling. Shit part of the game. But Peter Sterling got injured in round 3 at Parramatta Stadium. He got hit by David Gillespie, did his shoulder, and that was basically the end of Peter Sterling. He retired on the back of that incident. Round 4, I get the call up from the coach to say, you're in first grade this week. I was 18. I was, again, shit myself going, wow, this is amazing. But it was that luck or opportunity. Unfortunately, it was Peter Sterling's bad luck. It was my good luck and my opportunity that I was in the right spot at the right time. But if I didn't have, the talent, and that was questionable, if I hadn't have put in the hard work and made all those sacrifices, then ultimately that opportunity would have gone to somebody else. And there was plenty of other guys there waiting in the line to take that opportunity and chance. I took mine. So my claim to fame now is I replaced Peter Sterling. Okay? Okay. And I remind him every time I see him. Can we go to the next slide, please? A little bit about my thing is perspective and finding your why. And look, I do want to take some learnings out of this. So there's some things that I will touch on. It won't be just about my career. It'll be what I've done probably more so after my career, which I think is really important. Have we got my next slide there at all? Here we go. Okay, there we go. Empathy is a big one. And I think when you think about life and if you are in a bit of a hole, I'm a firm believer in helping is healing, okay? So if you have empathy and you have that ability to psychologically feel what another person is feeling, to understand their emotions, to understand words that you say or actions that you direct towards that person and what impact that may have on them, I think you are a long way down the track, okay? Obviously, it says there when you do a kind act for someone, your brain releases oxytocins, which is known as the love hormone. We all love to be loved, okay? And it's that great feeling of knowing that you have helped someone. Whether you're getting rewarded for it, acknowledged for it or not, the fact that you can actually help someone and go about doing that is a real positive. And for me, it probably happened for me. And again, I'm not up here to confess that I've had this amazing life. Actually, I have had an amazing life, but I guess I'm up here right now because of mistakes that I have made. So don't think that I'm some saint that has made no mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes, and it's probably why I'm up here now to be able to talk to you about them. Because, you know, I went through my second marriage, divorced, and I went about helping out with a charity that my mate set up, and it was a mate of mine we knew each other from teachers college. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit about it. It's called Pass It On Clothing. And basically what we do is, like the name says, we pass on clothing. And we pass on clothing to the homeless. It started about 4.5 years ago where my mate, Christopher, his name is, he met a young lady and she moved in with him. And he had a wardrobe full of clothing. And believe it or not, his partner was a stylist. She worked out. So she wasn't a fan of his wardrobe. So he put it up in storage for 12 months in case the relationship didn't work. So at least he had his clothes afterwards. Not a bad idea, just in case. But as it's turned out, they're still together, which is great. So after 12 months of the relationship, he said, what do I want to do with these clothes? Okay, I want to pass them on to someone who needs them. And I guess, we've all done it at some stage. We drop clothing into the clothing bins, and our intentions are for them to go to someone who needs them, okay? In the main, they don't go to someone who needs them. They either get sold in those secondhand stores or they get put out the rags, Okay, any clothes that we get that we think are worthy of being passed on to our friends, and we refer to them as our friends because ultimately that's what they are, then we pass it directly on to those. Okay, we call it pass it on, we don't put it on. Okay, we just give them the choice. There's a couple of aspects about what we do in relation to pass it on clothing and some of our key pillars. What key pillars? One of those is dignity. Okay, the other one is choice. And when we say we pass on clothing to our homeless friends, I rock up to my service, I'll have a clothing rack, all the clothes are on coat hangers, and we step away and allow the people to come up and pick and choose exactly what they want. Okay, they don't get many choices in life. Our friends that live on the streets, those that are disadvantaged. Okay, if they don't like the colour of a jumper that's on that rack, they don't have to take it. Okay, and I don't pick and choose how many pieces of clothing they can take, because they're obviously in a position that if they're there taking clothing, they need it. Okay, and I don't know whether you've ever thought about the cold winter months that we're about to go through last week and that cold snap that come through. Suddenly, how hard it would be if you're out on the streets, okay, and not only are you out on the streets, but it pissed down raining one day and your clothes are wet. Just think how hard that'd be if you're in that position where you can't get out of your clothing because that's all you've got on you, okay? So we've gone about this process. We're now at, and I joined him probably 6 months after he started. And like I said, it was on the back of my second divorce. I was in a little bit of a lull. I didn't know how or why I was going to get myself out of it. And this enabled me to put life into perspective. You know what? I would rock up to the service. I'd do my bit. I would talk to our friends and ensure that they were feeling good about themselves. And I had the opportunity to jump in my car, to drive home, roof over my head, jump into bed, have a shower, all those things, okay, which a lot of my friends who were servicing didn't have that opportunity. So when you think that life is tough or you find yourself in a situation where it isn't as great as you think it is, just take a step back and have a think about where other people are situated. And I'm not big on comparing yourself to others, especially when you are looking up the tree, but I think it's important to ensure that you look down the tree and compare yourself to others, because that's where things will be put in perspective for you to ensure that you don't get carried away with where you are or where you're at, or you don't think that there is no hope for you, because there is plenty of hope. And you know what? We're in this situation right now where things might be tough. Various people might be going through really tough situations at the moment, but you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot worse. I just want to point out a couple of the photos there. The one on the left, that's me with Dave. Look at the smile on my face. Ridiculous. This guy rocked up. He was at our service at Gosford. Okay, he was sleeping in one of the little cabanas there. And for probably about 4 weeks, he would not appear out of that little cabana. He would not step out of that little cabana. Okay? Broke down the barriers, got to know who he was, keep rocking up week after week and a week after week after week. And I've got to tell you now, for me, the clothing is just a vehicle for me to build relationships with these people. They want to see a familiar face. They want to have a little bit of normality in their life. And I don't know whether you can consider me normal, but they would just like a little bit of normality or familiarity with who they see on a regular basis. So I called him Uncle Dave, and he ended up finding housing, which was great. This was probably after about 8 weeks. 10 weeks, he ended up finding housing. This was him. He ended up catching a taxi to come back and see our service and to meet us and say hi, just because. Okay, because he missed us and he knew that we would be there each and every Wednesday. So Uncle Dave rocked up, hence the big smile on my face, because I hadn't seen him in about 4 or 5 weeks, but he made the effort to come and visit us, which was fantastic. That little photo on the right there, that's Christmas. That trolley there, that trailer there is full of goodies. You'll see all the bags down the bottom there. We just put that on for all our friends. Make sure that they feel that special time of year where, you know, family is so important. They don't necessarily have the family that you and I would have or think which is normal. You know, these people come from dysfunctional families, you know, I can name 1,000 reasons as to why they don't have support around them. Okay? So again, when you look down the tree, things aren't that bad. Okay? Next, and the other little slogan we have there is leadership of good. Okay, I don't go about doing what I do here for any notoriety, any pats on the back or anything like that. That's not about that for me. But it's about just being a leader and you know, trying to, show what good can be done and, you know, just what little bit of an impact you can make for those that are a little bit disadvantaged or really struggling in life. Next photo. This is us. We do our services, one in Gosford, one in Parramatta, one in Martin Place. Photo on the far left, that's one of my friends. He was sleeping at our service, and that's the extent of it. He's out down on the pathway there, just doing his best. The photo in the middle, I spent 2 nights on the streets just to live and to understand what they go through. And I got to tell you, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. After the first 2 hours, I was bored shitless. Okay? We had our phones with us, but we started at midday in Martin Place. By 2 o'clock, we were bored. Going, what the hell are we going to do here? Suddenly, it made me realise why alcohol, drugs become a way of life for them. Okay? It becomes a numbing agent because they can shut out everything that their world, they try to, it doesn't exist. Okay? And when you think about, you know, we can judge people, we can be critical, but unless we put ourselves in their shoes, we may not necessarily understand where it's at. And that was the reason why we did it. It was probably one of the most humiliating experiences I went through. As a society, we've become so immune to our homeless and disadvantaged. Okay? People just walk past, not give a shit. And again, this isn't about trying to put any sort of guilt or anything like that on you. And it's not about, I don't carry cash anymore, so to be able to provide someone with some cash, it doesn't happen for me anymore. But a simple hello, a simple, are you okay? Would you like anything? Do you need anything? And just to make them feel okay is sometimes all it takes. Because there's not a lot of dignity in sitting on the streets with your head covered over, your hand out begging for money. There's not a lot of dignity in that at all. So we did 2 nights on the streets, me and my mate Chris. First night we did the train up to Newcastle. And basically, like I said, after 2 hours we were bored. We were going from service to service in relation to food. Okay? That's all we had to look forward to. Where we're going to go for our food service, what we're going to eat next. That was it. First night we jumped on the train in Newcastle, which got us out of the weather, but it was bloody uncomfortable. Got off at Newcastle, had to wait there for the train to come back, which was an hour and a half, sitting on the platform at 3:30 in the morning, bloody cold, and again, just waiting for that opportunity for that train to get back so we get a couple of hours sleep. Second night, that's our cardboard mattress, both of us, just in the streets there of the CBD in Sydney. And again, there was not a chance of getting any sleep at all, just because of the simple fact, the noise. There wasn't a fear factor from my end because there was 2 of us there. But I could imagine at times if you're, I can understand that there may be that pressure or that feeling of security that they may not have, our friends. So that whole experience was just an eye-opener. And I will say this, we did have a couple of our friends who came across and met with us at various stages throughout the couple of nights we were out there. And it gave us the boost. It was like a little sugar hit. And what it did do is made us realise how important the service we provide on our Wednesday night or Tuesday night down in Martin Place, how important it is for our friends that we provide the service to. We aim to try and make it the best, if not the best hour of their day, the best hour of their week. Okay, because they've seen someone that's familiar. I don't need to ask them their story every week. I know their story. So I can actually treat them as a friend. And that's what's important, that they feel that they are treated like a friend and have some relationship that they can build. You know, I'm fortunate enough that I get tickets to the NRL. I've been able to give tickets to those guys at the NRL games. They love their footy. You know, for them to be able to go along and watch a game when ordinarily they couldn't afford to. And one of the big things about that is that Sunday morning when they get up and they're going to the footy, they get to put on a Bulldogs jersey or a Parramatta jersey or whatever team they support. Suddenly, they're not judged anymore. They might be judged if they're a Bulldog supporter, but especially if they're a Manly supporter, they definitely get judged. But when they put that jersey on, they're like everybody else rocking up to the game. No one knows if they're homeless. No one knows if you're a doctor. No one knows if you're a real estate agent. No one knows. And to be honest, no one gives a shit. You know what? They are part of a family all of a sudden. And that makes all the difference to them. Okay? So, you know, for us to be able to provide that to them just means so much to them. And you can see the level of trust that we've managed to build within these people over that time. Next slide, please. This is a little bit, you might take some learnings from this, just in relation to I am. And I think they're the two most powerful words in the English dictionary are I am. And what you put after these words will determine your mindset, your pathway, and your future. And we're probably our harshest critics, right, in terms of how we look at ourselves and how we perceive ourselves. But I can assure you that if you were able to put some positive words after that I am, and I challenge each and every one. In fact, I'm going to ask each and every one of you right now just to write down on a bit of paper in front of you 3 words about yourself following I am. And I'll put some words up if you go to the next slide. Oh, no. Next one. That's okay. There's me, my glory. Wow. But these are some words that I use to describe me. I'm brave, I'm strong, I'm disciplined, and I'll explain that a little bit later on. I'm competitive, like you wouldn't believe. My goodness. Determined, skillful. So they're just a couple of words. So I challenge you just now, type down 3 words. I'm going to point out some people. I'd love to hear what your responses are. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Write down 3 words. Make them positive. My goodness. No negativity in the room. Bailey, you got 3 words? You got 1 word for me? Give me 1 word, Bailey. You are competitive. Good work, mate. You like sport? You like anything? You compete in anything? Good boy. Footy? I accept losing. I don't like it. Even I play my kids in handball and stuff. I'll let them get close, but I won't let them win. Not yet anyway. Not yet. When I'm old enough and they're good enough, then they'll get me. No one's as competitive as Ray. I played in a charity match against him with him about, I don't know, it must have been 6-7 years ago. I couldn't believe how good he was going then. He's phenomenal. So you can see why he was as good as he was back in the day. I'm going to ask, in fact, what I'm going to do is rather than embarrass somebody, if 3 people could put their hand up, I'll point you out. You want to put your words up? CJ, yep. Dedicated, nice word. Nice word, dedicated. Yes, ma'am. That is beautiful. Kind, compassionate, and capable. I'm incapable plenty of times too, I got to tell you. Yes, ma'am. You are love and healing. Good on you, doll. Good on you. You know what? I don't know whether you felt good about what you did then, okay? I'd like to think you did feel something because there's so many times we don't actually take the time to think about ourselves and go, you know what? I'm doing all right here. I'm okay. Things aren't as bad as I think it is, or I just need to give myself a little bit of love at times or just be gentler on myself rather than be so critical or harsh on yourself or think about others all the time. there's times where you may need to think about yourself. And by doing this, I think it's probably a great way to be able to do that. You might have 1,000 words that you can describe yourself. And if you do, you need to give yourself a big hug because there's a lot of love there. But that's amazing. Like, just to be able to reflect on yourself and where you're at and what you're doing, I think it's important. And just take that time, whether it's once a week, once a month, once a year. I'd encourage you to do it more than once a year, but at least do it so that you know where you're at and you can feel good about yourself. Next slide, please. I'm understanding, I'm caring, I'm giving, I'm mindful, I'm a father. I think I'm a good one. That's debatable, but who knows? That's me. I was fortunate enough to play rugby league for Australia, New South Wales. Didn't play as many games as Ray. The only thing that stopped me was my ability, but I've got heaps of dad jokes. I'm so sorry. Heaps of dad jokes. That's me. My heyday in North Sydney. I love my time at the Bears. I had 4 years there. Great club. Played plenty of finals football with the Bears. And whilst I was at the Bears, I actually had the opportunity to both play for New South Wales and Australia. And there's my babies. I got 3 of them. My eldest is my daughter. She's 22 now. My son to the right of me, he's Matthew. He's 19. And my little baby there, he's 14. Okay, next slide, please. So who are you and what makes you you? What do you stand for? And again, these are some of the words that you may have written down yourself. There may be words that you didn't think about, but could apply to you also. Okay, and again, they're just little examples of, giving yourself a pat on the back, giving yourself some love, being gentle to yourself. Next slide, please. I guess the other thing is, what is your why? Okay, so we talk about I am and those words that follow that, but what is your why? What gets you going in the morning? What makes you rock up to work every day? Okay, and there could be 1,000 reasons as to why you do what you do. What drives you? What helps you get out of bed with excitement? Okay, is it your family? Is it money? Is it power? Is it passion? There's a whole lot of things there that go into it. And I think it's important that you try and understand what it is, your why, as to why you go about your day. How much is enough? I guess is a question we need to ask ourselves. When you think about society now and life, especially social media, I can assure you, no one puts shit up about what they do on that boring stuff or supposedly boring stuff, the mundane stuff, okay? It's all little snapshots of great things that are happening in their life, okay? But that's not real. That's not 24/7. That's not how their life is over and over again. It's just a little snapshot, okay? So just be really mindful of that. And this is where I talk about comparing yourself to others, looking up the tree, okay? It isn't that important, okay? You can certainly aspire. You can have goals. You can, try to attain certain things. But I can assure you, no one has ever stood up at a eulogy and said, Jimmy Smith, gee, lived in a beautiful house and a great car. Hey, no one ever said that at a eulogy, did they? They all talked about their character, the type of person they are, the legacy they left behind. And that, for me, is the mark of an individual, okay, the mark of a person, as to what their legacy will be. And when we started doing the Pass It On clothing, we talked about our legacy and what we were going to leave for our kids or whatever it may be. And it's not about what you leave your kids in terms of a big bag of cash, okay? It's about the examples you're setting for them, okay? And those legacies shouldn't be left when you're gone. They should be created as you go along in life, okay? And I think that is the most important lesson you should take out of this, is that those values need to be put in place from day one, and that legacy needs to be left behind, not when you're long gone. Next slide, please. Purpose has been proven in studies that purpose in life is beneficial for you, assists in helping you live longer, have a better quality of life. I know if you've got a purpose in life, you know where you're heading, you've got direction, okay? It guides you in your life decisions, influences your behavior, okay? If you've got direction, if you've got a purpose, in terms of your behavior, you're not about to do things that are going to derail the direction you want to head in, okay? You know what's right, you know what's wrong, you know which way is going to steer you in the path that you want to go, okay? Creates meaning, adding longevity to your life, okay? That can't be a bad thing. All right, staying around for as long as you possibly can. Next slide, please. My why, my purpose. This shit always gets to me. Okay. On the left, it's clearly a good-looking bloke. Now, that's my old man, okay? My kids are in the middle. That's my family, my sisters. My old man passed away 3 years ago. And it come as a shock. Okay, just happened overnight, bang. No rhyme, no reason, just happened. And again, I'm sure I'm not the only person in here who's lost his family, but he was pretty important to me. Prior to him passing, I started a little challenge. And I started doing 100 burpees a day. Okay? Everybody know what burpees are? They're shit. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to do one now. Okay, going to jump up, do it. That's okay. Did 100. I do 100 a day. Today's day 1215. Each and every day I do 100 burpees. On day 1000, I did 1,000 burpees. Yeah, it's stupid. I got mental problems. I know. But I did it to raise money for Pass It On clothing. It took me an hour and 40 minutes to get through that. I started it 3 months before my dad passed away. And I had already done it the day that he passed. The next day, I was at the hospital, family come along, and I just needed to get out. I needed to get out of the hospital, give myself a bit of time. So I did it. I did my burpees again. And I did it the next day, and that week just enabled me to switch off. Okay, just for that 10-minute period, I was able to switch off. Once the funeral was over and everything was put behind, I sort of said to myself, I kept going about it and doing it. And I sort of basically got to the point where I said, you know what? If I can do it throughout that period there, you have to find a good reason for me to stop. And here I am, 1,215 days later, haven't found a good reason yet. So I keep doing it. And I guess the lesson I want you to take from this is, find your purpose, find your why, find your reason for doing something. But also take 10 minutes of your day. And that's all it is. It takes me 10 minutes to do them, okay? But take 10 minutes of your day to dedicate to yourself, okay? Whatever that may be. I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be burpees. In fact, I'd encourage you not to do it because it's bloody hard. But it could be reading. It could be meditating. It could be spending an extra 10 minutes with your kids. It could be going for a walk. It could be spending extra time with your partner. Whatever it is that you feel you need to improve your life, take that 10 minutes, okay? And I challenge each and every one of you. And you know what? I'm not here to be negative Nancy, but I challenge you for the next 30 days to make that effort for 10 minutes. All right? Identify what it is. And I promise you, if you do this, you will be amazed the difference it will make in your life. Okay? Whatever that may be. You might decide to read. You might decide to meditate. Whatever it is, I promise you, it will make a massive difference. But you have to commit to it for 30 days because after that, it becomes a habit and you don't want to break it because you also know the benefit that it has for you. And physically, I know the benefit it has for me when I do my burpees, but also mentally, it's more important. That's why I do it. I've done it as late as 20 to 11 at night, okay? I've done it after a Legends of League game where I was sore as you wouldn't believe, okay? And I also had a big night on the drink as well. And I was feeling sick and sorry for myself laying on the lounge. And I had a couple of mates ring me about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and said, "Do you want to come down for a beer?" I said, no, I'm done. I'm so sore. I said, "Come on." So I went down there, had 6 beers. And I said to them, "Listen, I've got to go home and do my burpees." And they said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "No, I've got to go get them done." Went home, got them done, rang them up 10 minutes later, said, "I've done it." Okay? So I just made that effort to ensure that it actually helped me because it numbed me because I was that sore. It numbed my body. But I was that committed and dedicated to what I was doing. And like I said, I haven't found a reason to stop yet. I actually had a grade 2 medial tear a couple of years ago. I was down at the beach at Terrigal and with my kids, and we had a jet ski. And this rogue wave come in and knocked the jet ski in my knee. And I knew straight away that I'd hurt it. I went to the physio the next day because I'd already done my burpees previously that day and rocked up to the physio. And I said, "Mate, listen, this is what I've done." He said, "Yep, grade 2. I said, "Righto, give me a brace, strap it up. I don't care. But before I leave here, I need to do 10 burpees to make sure I can do it." So he put me in a brace and I was... But I did them. I got them done. I got 100 of them out. And I did that for about 2 or 3 weeks until such time that it got better. And again, I could have used that as a reason to stop or an excuse, but I chose not to. And I haven't found a reason yet, and I'm going to keep going until such time. So that's my little challenge to you in relation to 10 minutes a day. Find your reason, find your why, find your purpose. Whatever that may be. It may be your kids, it may be your new baby, it might be your job, it might be whatever it is. It's an individual thing. I can't tell you what it is. That's you. You've got your own story. But what I will say is that if you do make that effort, do make that commitment, then things will evolve and change for you. I have no doubt about that. Okay, you'll definitely see the benefits. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. And it's just some handy hints, which I've talked about, or handy tips that I've talked about. Empathy, try to be mindful of what others are going through. And please don't be quick to judge, okay? If I've learned anything from what I do with the homeless and disadvantaged, don't judge them. Because it's easy to from afar. But if you get the chance to walk in their shoes, you'll realize how hard it is. Believe in yourself. Be proud of who you are. Take that time. I am this. I am that. I am positive. Okay? Positive thoughts. I've got a tattoo on my arm. It says, "Thoughts become things." Okay? For me, it takes just as much energy to have a positive thought as it does to have a negative thought. They're going to come true either way. So I'm going to lean this way. I'm leaning positively because I don't want any of this shit to happen. It will happen, but I don't want it. I'm going to try and avoid it as much as I can. Okay, so I'm going to lean this way because the energy is exactly the same. Oh, I just said that. There you go. Be grateful for things you have. Okay? They don't have to be material things. Just be conscious of the fact that just be grateful for what you have in your life. I do a gratitude journal. I've done it for about the last 5 years. Write down in my journal every day things that I'm grateful for. They don't need to be big things. They can be just little small things. Getting a parking spot over here. Parking angel loves me. Absolutely loves me. She does. Everywhere I drive, parking angel looks after me. And I thank her each and every time because she does look after me. And when she doesn't, on the rare occasion, I don't care anyway. Doesn't matter. I didn't need that spot. I'll get the next one. Okay? Simple things like that. And when you put in perspective, it just means if you are thinking, if you have the mindset of gratitude, you suddenly look at life completely different to how others will. Create good habits, 10 minutes a day that I spoke about. It will change your life, I promise you, and will become good habits. And you can build on those, okay? Find your why, and remember those I ams, positive affirmation, okay? I'm nearly done time-wise, and I apologise for going over a little bit. If anybody's got any questions at all, I'm happy to take. I'll probably take 3 questions from the floor if they're there. If not, all said, or done, or silent. Oh, here we go. Best player I played against was probably Andrew Johns. And I look, you know what, I'm very fortunate, probably similar to Ray, in that I played in an era where there were so many amazing players that played. You know, the likes of Meninga, Laurie Daly, Brad Fittler, Darren Lockyer. You can just keep Alan Langer. I got to play alongside Brett Kenny, the great Brett Kenny. The best player for me that I got to play with who suited my game was Jason Taylor. We played 6 seasons together. His style suited me, and I made him look good as well. I think. No. But we just suited each other. Our styles complemented each other, probably not unlike what Kenny and Sterling were like in terms of nowhere near as good. But we were still, nevertheless, we just worked together well. So that's who suited my game the most. Any other questions about anything that I've spoken about? My career, which is boring. Yes, sir. Correct. Yeah, good question. Why burpees? You know why? Because people hate them, right? And if it was going to be something else, it was going to be easy. Burpees are hard and tough. And again, it's not about the physical challenge anymore. It's about the mental challenge. It's about testing myself and ensuring that, yeah, I can get this done. Physically now, I just get through it. It's 10 minutes. I just know I'm going to do it. Quickest I've done it in is 4 minutes, 48 seconds. Yeah. That's stupid again. Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll be sitting up the back with some couch taking notes myself later on once Wayne Bennett gets here. But that's just, it works for me, okay? And it doesn't have to work for you. It might be walking. It might be anything. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's just that 10 minutes a day. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. My head. I've got a good head for radio. And those lights shining on this forehead of mine isn't probably good. One thing I could change about myself. Probably if I guess it's the old adage about putting old heads on young shoulders. If I knew now if I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have had to learn as many lessons as I did. But it's okay. I don't regret it. I just wish that I had been a little bit more wiser and smarter and maybe had been introduced to some of this stuff beforehand. And I guess that's the position you guys are in right now. You're very fortunate in that you've heard from some amazing speakers and you're going to hear from 2 others after me. And then there's me way down there. But you hear it from some great speakers who, if you can take something out of each and every one of them, you're going to leave here a much better person for that experience. So for that, I just say, take as much on board as you can, because I'm 47 now, and I just wish that when I was 27, I had a lot more smarts about me. That's it for me, folks. Oh, sorry, we got one more question.
Sorry, Michael, just one question. With the homeless people that you're working with, obviously you've seen a lot of things and stuff like that. What message of hope do you leave with those people to keep them motivated?
The message of hope is I'll be here next week, because they don't have the ability, because it's survival mode, they don't have the ability to plan 3 months in advance. They're living day by day, service by service in terms of food. Sometimes it's hour by hour. So the hope that I give them is that I'll be here next week. I'll give you some confidence to know that you've got a familiar face here next week. If that's enough for them to get through the week, then I've done my job. And sure, I give them a couple of clothes and socks and all those things, but they know I'll be here. And that's the only hope I can give them. And I've been doing it now for 4 years, actually 4 years next month. And you know what? I plan on doing it in 4 years' time, just because it makes me feel good too. I get a lot more out of it than they do, I can assure you. And when you are in that position to be able to heal and to help somebody, it makes such a big difference. It really does. So folks, thank you very much. What I will say is this: you've got two amazing speakers coming up. You've got Wayne Bennett, who an absolute legend when it comes to rugby league. His coaching record speaks for itself, but his story and what he has and the challenges he has faced, and if he's prepared to share those with you, you will get a lot out of it. And Ziggy, who is a Mariners player, Western Sydney Wanderers player. I met Ziggy about 18 months ago. He spent a lot of time with my boys during COVID, training them, just spending time with them, getting to know them. And he did that off his own bat just because we were down at the park at the same time he was. And I introduced myself. My son was there and we had a run around with him, etc. So he's a guy who also has come from Scotland to, pursue his dream. So the challenges he has faced along the way to get there, hopefully he'll be able to share those experiences with you. So I thank you very, very much. I hope you've got something out of this. Thank you.